name is Cierra.
And I'm Deidra.
And I'm Donald, and our topic is Egyptian mythology.
Ooh. The
Ooh!
question is, who are the mythological gods?
So, our thesis is there are many gods and they have many backstories.
Mm.
So, Donnie was going to give you a little background information and then go into our topic.
All right, and here we go. Egyptian gods may appear to be strange and even frightening, but to the Egyptians, they were essential and even comforting as part of their life. They didn't worship animals, as most people think, but they used animals and animal parts to represent different attributes. For example, like strength of a lion, or a crocodile in its ferocity, or a cow in their tenderness and love. These were all different ideas of animals that help explain human ideas. In Egyptian mythology, Ra, the sun god, appeared to have created Sha and Tufnet by masturbating or spitting in a temple. It's pretty gross. But Ra was the supreme state god dating way back into the second dynasty. That's about 2700 BC. It was believed that Ra was born every morning, aged, and then died, and at night he traveled through the underworld during the night. And this was a constant reminder and a model of regeneration. Ra was also united with a god called Amun to produce Amun Ra, the sun god that you usually see as the halo or the suns behind the ancient Egyptian god. He was the Amun Ra became the supreme state god in the new kingdom. Ra was associated also with the hawk, or when you see the sun god behind the hawk, that represent Horus on the horizon. Egyptians also believed in life after death or in resurrection. This usually pertains to the god Osiris. In the beginning, Osiris was the king of Egypt, and he was the one responsible for bringing about civilization to the ancient Egyptians from being barbarians to being civilized people. He also taught them to cultivate and improve their fruits of the earth, and he gave laws to help regulate conduct. But he was betrayed while he was out going to the rest of the world to convince people or persuade them to yield to his teachings, not by using strength or power, but the strength of his reason. But while he was gone, Thibault plotted against him while he was back at home. And he made this beautiful chest and made it beautiful. And at a banquet he held with 72 other conspirators, he made a chest that fit exactly to Osiris's being. And he said that if anyone at the banquet could fit the chest, then it was there to take. So people would try after people would try, and then eventually Osiris came up, and as he laid himself down into the chest, they clamped it over him and nailed it in and put nails in it and threw it into the Nile. Later, they cut it into about 14 pieces. Well, Osiris, Iris, his wife, because she loved him so much, sought to go and find all his body pieces, and she retrieved about 13 other pieces and put the body back together again. And he was resurrected from the dead. Now, to the Egyptians, this is what they have faith in, that they believe that if Osiris lived on the earth, ate and drank as they did, suffered this cruel death, and with the help from other gods, he was able to obtain everlasting life. This is their hope, that they can do what Osiris does, and that's why they pray to Osiris and to the different gods that they believe, through magic, help him get everlasting life. And kind of parallel the story of Christ, who came and lived as a man, ate and drank as a man, but as a man he was still divine. And we have faith that as he would died and resurrected from the grave without any help from gods, that we have hope and resurrection as we live and believe and pray to him as well.
About Set. And Set was Osiris's brother who was kind of jealous of him because he wanted the throne. So I'm going to tell you a few things about him. He was considered a god of chaos, storm, confusion, wind, and desert, and of foreign lands, which is kind of random. But he was one of Egypt's earliest gods. He's in the legend that they tell us about Osiris, and he was contender to the throne against Osiris, and he had a rivalry with Horus. So people at first they treated him as like a regular god and thought he was good until he committed this evil crime. And what he did was he was so jealous of his brother that he chopped him up into 14 pieces. Kind of harsh, don't you think? Well, because of this deed, he was revered as a evil being. And as you know, Osiris's wife found all of his body parts, put them together, and resurrected Osiris. But from now on, Set will be considered an evil god. And now we have representations of him, and those representations are called Set animals. Some of those Set animals are they considered was a hippopotamus or a crocodile, a pig, a donkey, or even scorpions and turtles. And even this fish that was called the Nile carp or Fagris fish, because when he was chopped up into these pieces, a fish swallowed one of the pieces of him, which was the phallus of Osiris, the amulet that he wore. So people were always afraid of these animals or representations of Set because he was an evil being. Now also I want to talk to you guys about Isis. Isis was of course Osiris's lover, his wife, and she was the goddess of magic and powerful words. So let me tell you the story about Isis. She's actually kind of a conniving woman if you think about it. First off, she decided she wanted to learn the secret name of Ra. Now, of course, Ra's not going to tell her because Ra is one of the highest gods, and he thinks he's above her. Well, she devised a plan. This plan was create a reptile that's venomous and make him do what I want. So she makes this reptile, makes him all poisonous, and then she whispers these little words, something like that. And then the reptile goes and bites Ra right as he walks by. Now, of course, Ra gets really sick, and he's about to die. So the only way he's going to live is if he confesses his secret name. So he confesses his secret name to Isis, and all she does is speak these little words, and the poison comes out of his body, and of course he recovers and lives. I think that was kind of far to go just for a name, don't you think? Well, because she has these powerful words, she also used these words to raise her husband from the dead. So when she found all his pieces, she put them together, she spoke these words over him, and he was resurrected from the grave. Also, when she resurrected him, she also got an heir out of him. And this heir was named Horus. And Horus, she also had to resurrect Horus at some point in time because he got stung to death by scorpions. So she wanted her family back. So she, of course, she would raise them all from the dead. So that's the story about Isis and Set.
The god Horus. As you all heard, he is the son of Osiris and Isis. Horus, he is a sky god, and he was depicted as a falcon. He had a head of a falcon, and he was the most significant deity in ancient Egyptian time. And he was also worshipped in the late pre-dynastic period. And he served many functions in the Egyptian period, like as a sun god, of war, and of protection also. And also in the early Egypt times, Horus was the brother of Isis and Osiris, and Set, and Nephthys. And when cults formed, that's when he became the son of Isis and Osiris. And he was born to Isis after she retrieved body parts of Osiris, and she used her magic powers to resurrect Osiris. And since he was a sky god, He was also considered to contain the sun and the moon, and the sun was in his right eye, and the moon was in his left eye, and it traversed when he flew as a falcon. And also, I don't know if you also heard, if you read Egyptian mythology, that we all know about how there was a war between Set and Horus over who would rule over the kingdom. And to show their dominance, Seth tried to seduce, well, he did seduce Horus by having sexual intercourse. But Horus, he went between Seth's thighs and took his semen and threw it into the river. And then since he knew that lettuce was Seth's favorite food, Horus took his semen and put it on Seth's lettuce, and he ended up eating it. And then they went to the upper gods, so they can just discuss who can rule over Egypt. And then once the upper gods tried to get in contact with Seth's semen, they saw that it was in the river, but the river and the semen, like, they denied his semen. And then when they went to Horus's semen, they saw it was inside Seth's body, but then they were really confused. So once they could put this battle to an end, they decided to have a boat race. At the end, Seth's boat sank, and Horus won the battle. And that's a relation to the Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, and how there's, little confrontation with each other, fights between them. And Horus ended up becoming ruler of the Upper Egypt. And Seth, he was Lower Egypt. And I will also be talking to you about the goddess Bastet. She was worshipped in the Second Dynasty, and she was the protector goddess of the Lower Egypt. She had the head of a cat because she was the god of cat, of protecting pregnant women, music, and dance. She was also the daughter of Ra. And then she also had two sides to her. She had a aggressive side to her, and she had a very nice, soft side to her. When it came to the aggressive side, that's when, I guess you could say, she was depicted as a lioness, because she would go into war. She would help protect Egypt when Pharaoh told her, to protect Egypt and all of that. And then when it came to her soft side as the cat, that's when she would, protect the pregnant woman, and, she would dance and all that good stuff. And then also, the meaning of cats were very, very important to Egypt. She really loved her cats, and if someone killed the cat, it was considered a crime, and it also was very unlucky. They even got to wear gold. They even got to eat off of their master's plates. And that is the goddess Bastet.
We proved our thesis, which is there are many gods and many of them have backstories.
And we hope you enjoyed this fun information on Egyptian mythology.
Ooh.